You have seen the regime spending a lot of money. Now recently, they've been spending an obscene amount of money for temporary fixing of roads and other infrastructure ahead of the non-aligned movement summit. And yet, they never do these things for the citizens. They never fix the roads, they never fix the infrastructure for the citizens. Of course, in a well-governed country, a summit like the NAM summit would be a blessing because it would mean more foreign exchange, therefore more business for the locals and the citizens. But in Uganda's case, what was supposed to be a blessing has actually turned out to be a curse, like it was during the Chogam summit. So many livelihoods have been disrupted, and some have even been completely destroyed, all in the name of putting up a fake image. Reports indicate that more than 3,000 businesses have been either closed or disrupted. Many people have been rounded up and detained, especially the homeless people in Kampala. Traffic and transport has become a nightmare, and generally lives of the citizens have been brought to a standstill. All this has been done in the name of the NAM summit, whose benefits are actually limited to a few political elites who are making a kill out of it. Before long, I'm sure you're going to be seeing scandals and reports of who stole what, of who embezzled what, but that is the daily business that happens under the Museveni regime. I also want the democratic leaders that are invited, that are attending the NAM summit, to know and understand that they're actually being hosted by an illegitimate ruler. Yes, an illegitimate government which is holding people on gunpoint against their will. You have seen the government using the NAM summit to paint a rosy picture to the international visitors, to the extent that Museveni's minister, Chris Baryomunsi, actually ordered the people of Uganda, the suffering, the hungry and angry people of Uganda, Baryomunsi ordered them to smile forcefully when the visitors come, so that they can, pretend to be happy, pretend to be comfortable. Friends, I'm requesting you to use this opportunity and every other opportunity to expose this regime and to expose the reality that indeed Uganda is bleeding. We must do everything possible for the world to know that Uganda is bleeding, because this is yet another opportunity. No wonder they're forcing us to smile, because they want to cover up their mess. We must continue calling upon the international community to stop financing Museveni and his oppression against the people of Uganda. We must continue demanding for our missing people, dead or alive. We must continue demanding for the release of all political prisoners, and of course demanding for justice for all those that have been killed extrajudicially. We must continue fighting for freedom, for justice, and for equality. We should evoke Article 3 of the Constitution. Article 3, ladies and gentlemen, commands us to do everything within our power to restore our constitutional rule, to restore the rule of law, using every necessary means. So we should evoke Article 3 of Uganda's Constitution. And we should remember that it doesn't only command us to restore constitutional rule, but it actually protects us while we go about that goal. Once again, by changing the platform and later blame it on ADF. I believe by now most of you have seen the tweet by Honorable Zake exposing the threat to his life. Last year, I had to cut short my trip in Kabale after a friendly European embassy gave us intelligence that there was a plan to kill me by shooting on that tour. Indeed, gunmen were captured on camera, edging closer to me, one of whom was wrestled down by my security team with a loaded gun ready to shoot. He was disarmed, handed to police in PG, but as usual, that was the end of the story. Nothing was done. So, with that background, we have reason to believe that the ongoing shootings are just a dress rehearsal for the regime, but the main targets are the opposition leaders, especially the leaders of the National Unity Platform. They want the population to get used to the excuse of ADF, so that by the time they come for our lives, the population will be convinced already that the killing was a terror attack by the ADF rebels, not political assassination by the NRM. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans, be alert. These are criminals, these are rebels, these are terrorists, these are murderers, and they must never fool you in case anything happens to any of us. Either the regime is responsible for all these shootings and killings, or it knows who is behind it. I mean, isn't it suspicious that the regime bought and installed CCTV cameras around the city and spent more than 450 billion shillings of taxpayers' money, but they've never even identified one shooter through all the years? Doesn't that disturb or provoke your mind? You have seen the regime spending a lot of money. Now recently, to our project. I was asking you to not stop demanding what's rightfully ours, to continue fighting back. We must continue mobilizing and organizing ourselves at all levels of society so that we can together put an end to this dictatorship, or we shall continue to be slaves. We need to fight for our freedom, ladies and gentlemen, because nobody will fight for us if we don't do it for ourselves. Remember, the struggle continues. This is a new year. Let us engage another year. Let us do everything possible, and let us start now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for God and my country.